This is rated mature. That's your warning. So this is a quick review and long discussion for Catherine Full Body. If you came here expecting anything other than that, you might be in the wrong place. But much like a horror movie, if you'd like to linger out of morbid curiosity longer than you should, feel free. Now to start it off, Catherine Full Body is a very good game, and one I wasn't expecting to like. If you're clicking through reviews to find validation, I won't waste your time, so I'll just put that out there first thing. Now, like some others who may be watching this though, I took a pass on the original because it seemed like a game where the story about a cheating boyfriend didn't really grab my attention, and it takes a lot for me to buy a puzzle game, the Portal series being the sole exception. But what I weirdly like about Atlus is their inability to give up on a good idea even if it's imperfectly executed, and in the process get some mileage out of older games by shining them up for new audiences like me years later. Now, the gameplay is effectively split between time management, because this is Atlus, personal relationship choices, because this is Atlus, really incredible music, because this is Atlus, and elaborate tower puzzles, because this is Atlus. The time management and relationship choices are all intertwined in the story, but the puzzles concerned me at first because I generally don't have the time or inclination to learn new skills anymore, even skills I should learn because it will fend off my early onset Alzheimer's. But if you're similarly concerned, you can just play it on easy and autoplay the puzzles. But the towers puzzles aren't really what made me do this video, and I can't really spend as much time as I'd like selling you on the game because ironically, I guess, I need to talk about how much I love it. And it inevitably runs into spoilers. So I'm going to start the spoilers in 3, 2, 1. There is a really impressive story to be told throughout this game, and while there is absolutely a deep story in Catherine Full Body realizes that in a way that made me want to spend so much time making this video despite none of my friends having ever played it. So with Rin self-identifying as male and an angel and an alien, yet presenting as a traditional woman, to Catherine with a C as alternately a homewrecker, a traditional woman and mother, yet also demonic succubus, and Catherine with a K as comparatively simple, yet with complex insecurities in her own life, there's a potential to be lazy and just throw this madness together like a chaotic pinball machine. But I'm gonna try to break down the method to the madness. And I'm gonna start with Erica.
Hey, you guys. Quit filling his head with doom and gloom.
Erica!
So how do you update a game that's 8 years old, and how do you fix it in the process? You can cut content, you can delete scenes, you can add scenes, you can basically do whatever you want. But you're trying to please two sets of fans. Those who love the original and want more, and those who had legitimate issues with the original but want to love it. Now there's a phrase that you can add by subtracting, as in removing something toxic will add to the overall experience. But Atlus subtracts by adding, and I mean this in a good way. So not only do they add content, but they minimize the lines against Erica's identity by adding context. So for example, instead of changing the relationship between Erica and the others, the scenes with Rin act to broaden Erica as a character, allowing more facets and context. You see Erica more often as a protective and charitable character in addition to her flirtatious nature, even while acknowledging her own roadblocks and still being an outspoken part of the gang. It doesn't change her, it allows another facet of her personality to be displayed more than it was before, and forms her as a more well-rounded character, a more full-bodied character, flaws and virtues and all. They keep in the jokes and the snide comments at Erica's expense, but with the added content expanding Erica's good qualities, it tends to balance out alongside the jokes and snide comments all of the friends make about each other. Orlando is mocked for his get-rich-quick schemes and his breakup. Toby is mocked for his youth and seemingly naive view of the world. Vincent is hit hard for his cheating and constant drama, which has come out of seemingly nowhere. And everyone knows Johnny has problems with commitment, but no one really brings it up to him. Instead, the comments towards Erica largely seem to be the flip side to Erica's lecturing to them by how they should play their gender roles, presuming these essential traits of men or women to explain to them how they're doing it wrong. She says men are so self-centered, you men are all pigs, even expressing an annoyance with men who play video games, and multiple other similar examples throughout the game. Erica's repeated adherence to these rules, undermines her arguments in the eyes of those who remember her as visibly male when they were first friends, but her mindset and presentation also validates her in the eyes of other patrons, to Boss, and through the affections of people like Toby who are caught up in that binary mindset by default. It's also not uncommon to believe that you can go from A to Z, but then kind of pretend all those letters in between don't really mean anything, that they only exist as stops on the way to a destination, not destinations in themselves. After all, presumably Erica was always Erica, no matter what her name was before. To her friends, of course, the reality of her transitioning reasonably would denounce the idea of some sort of unbreakable gender rules. It knocks down the sort of idea that gender has to be this specific thing, that all men or women have essential values and can't be changed. I thought at first through articles I'd read maybe her friends just thought she is invalid, but they're largely affirming of her, and don't dead name her even in private. They're not being nice and keeping up appearances. They understand Erica is a woman. They're defensive, and ready to remind her of the transitory nature of her own gender after she tries to lecture them on how they should play their roles. A reasonable assumption would be that Erica doesn't have room to be technical about this, whether she knows otherwise or not, because she's under so much more scrutiny to be accepted in a small town as a trans woman. This back and forth is seen by some as transphobic, and I completely understand the utter lack of trans characters in media, especially in 2011, made its specific insults all the more damaging. But as a conflict between a binary trans woman having to stick to strict gender roles and her male friends trying to escape them, I found it fascinating and sympathetic, particularly with the new content. Somewhat bolstering this view in my eyes is the only real change in dialogue is the line where Vincent explicitly tells Erica this would be better if it was coming from a woman. And in context, it's a little out of left field that all of them would use her name and pronouns and then suddenly deny Erica's identity even as a joke. It's contradictory and a bit off-putting as some sort of nuclear overreaction to minor criticism from her. Being trans requires a lot of sacrifice, and as Erica is binary, her friends would have visibly seen and likely been part of that sacrifice over the course of years. Throwing out that line as casually as a YouTube comment didn't really feel realistic. But in addition, it masks the theme of the game, which all the rest of the dialogue is pushing. The tension between how we think of gender essentialism, all men are this, all women are that, and gender presentation, how you appear to the world, and the actions which come from that. So having the main character answer that question straight out closes down the entire point of the discussion. So before I go to the resolution, and obviously Rin, I do want to explain why I'm focusing so much on gender roles in this game. Why did I pull that theme from the lines? What if I just talked about this game in order and freedom and growing up? Those are the themes the game says it's about. So to explain, let's take a quick detour to another Atlus game, Persona 4.